Taiwan's constitutional court is debating whether the country's libel laws are too strict. The number of defamation cases in the country has doubled in the past 10 years. Charges were dismissed in almost 3/4 of those cases. Some attorneys say the current system allows for accusations of libel to be filed too easily in order to get compensation. They say this is infringing on free speech.
对他人侵害的方式越来越激烈的时候，不是反而应该有其他的嚇阻或者是防止的手段吗？怎么怀疑诽谤罪？
To find out more, TaiwanPlus's Sally Jensen spoke to John Eastwood of Eiger Law Firm.
How strict would you say Taiwan's libel laws are?
They're pretty strict. One measure of that is how libel and public insult offenses are still criminal matters, and they're very regularly used by people who have some kind of grievance. The problem many foreigners in Taiwan run into is that they let out a curse word, not as an insult, but in the middle of a sentence as emphasis, like when someone says, this is, effing good coffee, or what the F is going on. That kind of use has often been mistaken or treated as an insult. Cars have dash cams, and we've seen people get criminal actions filed against them over just hand gestures.
So would you say that they are more strict compared to those of neighboring countries and, for example, also countries like the US?
Yeah, many countries in Asia and around the world have used criminal defamation and insult laws to attack free expression. So Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course Thailand, with all the rules in and around protecting the new king. South Korea has very strict criminal rules, and Japan passed a criminal law about online insults last year, in addition to their existing laws. In contrast to that, the wider global trend, and what you see in the United States is a much more liberal protections for freedom of speech, and there it's a purely civil matter. In Europe, in many cases, libel and defamation are also taken down a notch. It's a bit more, more of a civil matter. In many cases, criminal provisions have been completely removed.
So do these libel laws impinge on free speech in Taiwan?
Absolutely. In the martial law era, it was part of the standard bag of tricks used against democracy activists. So the bigger problem is that even in these modern post-martial law days, you see that criminal charges or threats of criminal charges are used to try to intimidate journalists. And we also just generally see way too many criminal cases brought for situations where there really is no basis.
And so the Constitutional Court has just held a debate on these laws. How likely do you think that these laws will change after the debate?
That's a good thing. I mean, it's good that they're re-examining the issue. They should. It's hard because people do want accountability, and because the average person perhaps doesn't see how often these laws are misused. Perhaps because a lot of these cases settle because the accuser ultimately wants money and an apology, and they want the other person to feel humiliated. And it's terrible that the power of government prosecutors gets put into the midst of what are really very often petty personal disputes.